Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we've got some best bets in this episode here for Wednesday with another big slate. I believe we got 9 games here to choose from. We've got some sides and totals in this episode. Also have player props up in another one. So make sure you are subscribed to that page and continue to follow along with us all season. Also want you to head out into the description of the video right below us there. You can see the link to the email newsletter on thelines.com. Make sure you're staying up to date on everything that we're bringing you guys here on the site, as well as the bonus parlay that Nate and I are putting in there each Friday when that newsletter comes out, giving you guys a little bit of a parlay with some plus money, 2-0 so far to kick it off with the first 2 newsletters. So we will be looking to keep that streak alive here this Friday. Make sure you guys are checking that out. Nate, let's go ahead and jump right into your first best bet here for Wednesday night.
Yeah, maybe I'm a little gassed up because I started watching that Celtics Town documentary about all the championships, but I am taking Boston here in this huge game with OKC visiting. -2.5. There was there's some buyback now after people were taking OKC at +4.5. Like, I will line up for that. And now it's starting to swing back after the Celtics got all the way down to 2, a flat 2. It's 3 in some spots, but I mean, if they win, they could easily win by double digits. That's just how the Celtics work. I mean, they've kind of been lining up. We talk about Drew Holiday getting some rest, Jalen in and out, Tatum in and out. They've been lining up for something like this, right? Initially, you just think about it as like, OKC has more to prove. They're young, they're hungry, they didn't win the championship. But Boston at this stage, maybe this is really the final tune-up with a month to go before the regular season ends. But this is really, a chance for them to flex at home. They are no longer that kind of sleepy home team that you were able to target relentlessly early in the season. Won 5 straight at home with +11 net. Most of the competition was pretty lax, but I think the biggest thing is you look at how they treated that Lakers game on Saturday. Right. Should totally treat it like a playoff game. Tatum plays the first 16 minutes, I believe, and is just absolutely fantastic. It's all Tatum and Brown dominating their individual matchups. And then the other guys getting in when they fit in and basically sleepwalk through the Jazz. So while OKC played 2 wars with Denver. So it's a big rest advantage for Boston, which now, OKC, after playing at altitude, playing at home, has to travel twice and then come to Boston. And they're looking to bounce back in terms of how bad they were down the stretch at OKC, the only other matchup this year. Just insane negative regression shooting from the Celtics, which they can have at times. They were 3 for 24 from deep in the second half, only scored 27 after roasting this defense in the first half. And that's, something to look at is OKC's defense has sprung some leaks since the All-Star break, most notably allowing the most corner threes at 40%, allowing 6 most threes overall. So that could be trouble, certainly, if it starts raining in Boston. And on the other side, you don't have J-Dub, which I probably should have put higher on the top here, because like I've been saying with SGA, like as great as he is, OKC doesn't really have, the secondary options, the ways to play off him as much as some of the elite teams in the league. Boston has several defensive options to throw at him. They are just absolutely number one denying free throws with a bullet. They have limited his free throw attempts. They are very good denying field goal attempts at the rim. Might even have some Porzingis minutes here. So, I just don't think SGA's supporting cast is going to be as good as this true ensemble that Boston can throw out there. And if they're really motivated, I do think that they get this win at home.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, there's so many questionables, but the most important out tag already is J-Dub. And the questionable tags are just Tatum and Kristaps. I don't see how Kristaps plays. He just put that post out the other day on social media that he's like dealing with a weird virus that he's not totally sure even like how to deal with it. That he said the medical teams are like trying to figure it out still. So I don't know how he gets out onto the floor in this one. If he does, like you said, some minutes from Kristaps. But most importantly, yeah, like this is just tailor made for the Celtics to win a game. Like, if you don't have J-Dub, you don't have your second highest usage player, a big outlet to not only hit the 3, but if you do get out on the 3 like the Celtics are capable of against J-Dub, then you're talking about him having, being the best option to drive to the hoop outside of SGA. And he's gone. He's not out there. So that's the biggest one, because this is, like I said, tailor-made for Boston's defense to go, All right, cool. SGA, Drew or D White or somebody is going to be on you. I mean, even JB or JT might spend some time on SGA, and we'll just let you guys go 1-on-1 because 2 is less than 3, and we're going to trade SGA's hard fought 2-point buckets, mid range shots for our 3-point barrages. Like that's what we're going to do, and that's why it's like, yeah, this one at 2.5. Yeah, now we're definitely in hit that Celtics territory. So I'm going to go over to that Knicks game here. I think it's going to be a pretty good one, but we'll see what's up with Portland. But they're in Portland, last game of the night, and out there on the West Coast. They're 3.5-point favorites on the road, and I'm going to take them after a nice win there on the road the other night against the Kings. I considered an under. It actually got bet up a bit, and now it's a little bit that's the unknown part for me with the Knicks is like, are they going to play a little bit faster, I guess, with McBride and a little bit more guard heavy if you get more McBride minutes out there? It's still a questionable to me. I mean, they shot really, really well against the Kings, and I'm not trying to bank on that again necessarily, but I do think that they can still get an advantage here against the Blazers, who I believe we're looking at their injury report. We've got Ayton out, Jeremy Grant not likely to play, and then Rob Will is also questionable. So yeah, like Denny and the other normals are going to be out there. Don't sleep on how important Jeremy Grant's actually been to their defense as well. Up top, he also allows guys to guard other players, like Tumani can just go take their best player, and Denny can kind of play off ball and get those rebounds. But now Denny's probably forced to play a little bit more on their best player, as they've got like Shaedon Sharpe out there as their other guard along Anthony Simons, and neither of them are guarding very many people very well at all. But when you look at the Knicks here, like obviously we don't have a large sample size without him. McBride had a horrible game in his first game, was like 2 for 13, came back and had a really good game. I know you like him on the points today. I would agree that he's probably going to get a pretty good matchup with either Sharpe or Simons having to guard him, as Tumani will be forced to guard others. So yeah, I think he's going to be a good look too. Whoever is not being guarded by Tumani is going to be a good look in this game because that backcourt is so weak on defense. But the Knicks in their last 5 up to sixth in defensive rating in those last 5 games. Good competition. Teams that are also playing defense on the other side, but you're talking about the Dubs, the Heat, the Lakers, the Clippers, and then this Kings team that did have Monk back and they held to 104. So I think the defense is coming around. I mean, Deuce McBride is a huge upgrade on defense from Jalen Brunson. It's another reason why I do prefer an under. It's just scary when you see the Knicks put up that 130 on some pretty good shooting. You get a little bit worried about it. And if you look at them on offense, I think they should be able to have some success as far as a jump shooting team against the Blazers. Blazers have been very, very good limiting stuff at the rim, very good defensively in the paint, not so much against the 3 or the mid-range, right? Like above the break, they're now 27th in their last 10 games in terms of opponent field goal percentage when they're shooting those 3s above the break. Mid-range field goal percentage, they're giving up the 16th, they're 30th actually, I'm sorry, dead last in terms of opponent mid-range field goal percentage now on the season. This is where the Knicks are going to live, right? It's going to be Cat driving to the rim and still playing that 5-out stuff, as they don't need to go too big, especially because Klingon might get some minutes out there, but especially if Rob Will's available, they're going to prefer his minutes to guard Cat. Another reason, like I said, I'm really just continuing to talk myself into this under, but I do think the Knicks, if they're hot, that's going to be the problem, and they're going to have some open shots and opportunities. That's why I'm just going to take them to cover this 3.5 and not worry too much about the points.
That is your New York Knickerbockers, right? They beat the bad teams. They do not beat the good teams. 28-6 against teams with losing records this season, and as we know, 0-7, 0-9 or something against the top 3 in the other East, teams in the East. Yeah. And they get 2 days off after this before playing Golden State. So to close this road trip. So yeah, go ahead, get this win because I don't think they're getting that one against Jimmy and the boys.
Nope, I'll be at that game, and I totally agree. I'll be betting on the home team in that one.
Yeah. So Suns also bad against teams with winning records. I don't know how good the Rockets are right now, though, to be honest. But I do like over here 228. It opened at 224. Value, it looks like it's flattened out though. Like it's dropped off 229 for a bit here. Because it's like opposing forces here. It's like when you got the Magic playing the Bulls last week. I remember it's just like it's an under wagon and it's an over wagon in terms of the Suns. Actually lean the Suns winning here or covering the 4.5 because they've been competitive lately. Like KD clearly has a fire lit for whatever, what, as we talked about in some of the earlier shows, whatever he's hearing on social media, whatever kind of the embarrassment is to get trash talked by Cam Spencer and whatnot when you lose to the Grizz. He's not going to let Houston, which, frequently trash talks, he's not going to let them get under his skin. He has been motivated, gone 29, 8.5, and 8 in 5 meetings with Udoka's Rockets. So that's kind of the differential here. As you say, everything Houston does well defensively, like he's just a cheat code for it, and he's going to keep this Suns offense rolling. Book has been able to score inefficiently against Udoka. Beal, not so much, but lately he's been good offensively. And when Beal's out there, the Suns defense is just like a true train wreck, right? It's just the last 11 with him, they're allowing 127 a game at not very fast pace. No opponent short of 116 points. That includes like the skeleton crew of the Dallas Mavericks. So Houston missing Amen Thompson indicates like they might have a little trouble getting out on the break. Well, I mean, that's great because the Suns give up the second most points off turnovers and fast break points right now since the All-Star break. So anybody can probably break against this team. Jalen Green should cook these guards. And Şengün, I think, gets a nice bump with Fred VanVleet coming back. And that's like, if you just look at the splits, it's like Fred back in, Amen out. That sounds more like an under because it's a slower game, half court. But against the worst above the break 3 defense in the league right now, allowing opponents to shoot like 41%. I like having Fred back in there. And like I said, it's a parade to the rim, no matter who you have. You don't need an Amen Thompson. The Suns scoring 133 with a 130 defensive rating their last 4 road games. Over seems like a blind hit right now with them when they're on the road.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, worst defensive team in the league, and Houston actually has been bottom half of the league in defensive rating just in their last 5 games, not playing like that good a comp. They're just a little bit different right now down the stretch. This happened to them last season a little bit in terms of like not necessarily falling completely apart, but definitely dismantling and shedding some of that confidence down the stretch. And this is this is still a Phoenix team that has the guns. And yeah, Brad Beal being out there, like I agree. I think he's actually going to be the Fred VanVleet Brad Beal matchup is going to be like 2 guys scoring on each other very consistently. I mean, that's how I see it. Like Fred can't guard Brad Beal. Brad Beal doesn't seem to have much interest in guarding. So, you know, that's going to be the matchup right there. And I think that's going to be where a lot of points are added to this game from that particular matchup. But let's close it out with another good one here, actually, in the West Coast there. We're in the Western Conference rather, but at Denver, we've got Mini on the road now, -3.5 for Denver at home. And I'll go ahead and agree with you. I know you like this as well. And I'm with that. What I like here, Denver at home, 15-3 straight up at home in their last 18 with the Joker. They've got a +13 net during that time. And they're actually pretty good with a rest disadvantage as they just played back-to-backs and only have had 1 day off since then. Right now, they do get the stuff at home here with Minnesota. And so what I'm looking at here for Denver, in addition to this, is kind of like what I'm looking at for Minnesota. Like I don't love what I'm seeing from them as they try to get Rudy back in. I'm not sure how that's going to impact things because they were looking like a really nice, fast-paced offense since the break, right? And since they came back, even with Julius Randle coming back in, it didn't slow anything down. Dante DiVincenzo came back in. It just sped up everything and made it a lot more space available on the floor. Their pace went up to 17th in their last 8 games here, which is better than 25th on the season for them, right? It sounds like not that fast, but being middle of the pack for them is playing a lot faster. And that offensive rating has been 9th best over their last 5 as well. The D rating also really good, but I would also attribute that to playing some bad competition and not having to really worry about how they're playing against teams like the Jazz, for instance. But their effective field goal percentage has gone from 15th on the season to 5th in their last 8 as well. Again, all without Rudy. So I'm just not sure what's going to happen. Now he had 20 minutes in his last game. I just don't like any of it. Like with him out there, they are 15th in offensive rebound percentage as opposed to dead last with him not out there. So that could be something that you look at as like, okay, if he's out there and you can get boards against Jokic, except for that's not the case anymore. The Nuggets went from the 3rd worst rebounding team against centers to the best in their last 15 games. Number 1, only the Lakers are even close to them in terms of limiting rebounds to centers over the course of these last, like I said, 15 games. So this is a Denver team that I'm going to start to believe in a lot more. I believe we're still going to be without Aaron Gordon, right? He's not going to be a go in this one, which means Russ, which does mean if Rudy's getting limited minutes and we've got Russ as opposed to Ago, probably going to see more points in this one too. But I prefer that for Denver now, right? Once we talked about this turning into an offensive matchup where you're going to get a little bit more floor spacing, now I'm looking at Denver as the second best effective field goal percentage in the league, and also a team now that has been getting to the rim with the number one frequency on the season. And Russ is going to add to that a ton. Obviously, Aaron Gordon would also add to that, but the Russ Jokic tandem is real. So like with that, when Russ has been out there with Jokic, the two of them on the court together are like a plus 12 net rating at this point, and they're sort of their two-man lineup with whomever you really want to put around them. I'm going to believe in that. I'm going to believe in their ability to get out into transition in this game as well. They've now up their transition frequency to the sixth highest in the league, and they're pretty efficient as well, sixth best in terms of points per possession when they get out into transition. Minnesota, as good as this defense has been at times this season, still middle of the pack, bottom half of the league in their transition defense. So I think it's going to be Denver outscoring Minnesota, and we'll see what Minnesota does with Rudy. If they want to leave him on the floor, maybe this is a little bit more of a defensive matchup, but then they're just going to lose it all on offense. So I think that's really the crutch and Denver's main advantage.
Yeah, I think that's the counterintuitive thing is like if Rudy is ruled in and this moves down to like 2.5, that's even more value on the Nuggets because actually I think he's going to hurt, like you're saying. Like if you get into a shootout and then this beautiful ball movement that Minnesota's been having, it is all of a sudden not there against the team that you have to get assisted field goals against. Denver could kind of run away on the other side. I mean, there is the revenge narrative here after getting beat down last time out against the Wolves, right? Nuggets are really good after a loss. We just saw them bounce back from OKC loss, and now it's just sort of double loss situation. And Minnesota's strength of schedule has been embarrassing lately. Like I don't care about how good their net rating is against the tomato cans they've played. They generally lose to good teams when they get into those spots. So I would rather take the Nugs here. Whether Gobert is in or not.
Yeah, it's the case too. In their last 10, you look in their last 10. Well, they're 4-1 in their last 5. In their last 5, they played the second easiest schedule in the league. The previous 5, right? You're talking about 2 and 3 playing the fourth hardest schedule in the league. So I do think that this is going to be a situation for them. Again, not as good against these better teams, and Denver should have the advantage, especially on offense at home. I'd like to take an under, but I'd have to be kind of insane to take an under for Denver in general and at home, especially. So I'll just go ahead and believe in them to win this thing by less than 5. But that's all the time we have for you on this one. Make sure you are subscribed to that page and check out the player props episode we have up alongside this one. And until we see you next, happy betting.